today we're reacting to the frustrating downfall of Ranked Fortnite. And not even just Ranked, but moreover just competitive Fortnite. And as you guys probably know, I love Fortnite competitive and I absolutely love Ranked. So saying it fell off actually hurts, but it kind of has been recently. I don't know if you guys have seen, but the player counts have been dropping on Ranked day by day. And especially with Season 3 and having the TIE fighters, it's not been looking too hot. And besides the Pro-Am, which was absolutely incredible, competitive Fortnite has been on the decline for a while now as well. So today we're hitting a Fortnite We Need to Talk type of video, and we're gonna be discussing exactly what's going on with competitive Fortnite and how we can hopefully fix things. And more specifically, we're reacting to a video from Resub here, so obviously huge shout out to him. And he's gonna give us an analyst opinion on what's going on, and then I'll throw my opinion on there too. All right, here we go.
Fortnite's Battle Royale playlists have consistently hit all-time low numbers in 2025.
Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry to pause already, but dude, 1.9 million to 0.4? That's insane. What season was that? Okay, so this was November of 23, so this was OG Fortnite, right? So these numbers are pretty inflated, and then I believe this was Chapter 5. Yeah, I think this was the launch of Chapter 5, to give some reference.
And at face value, it doesn't really look that bad. There have been multiple times in the past year where player counts have been similar. But when you start to look at the Ranked Battle Royale playlist, this is when it starts to become a real obvious issue. The April and May 2025 numbers are around half of the previous low.
Bro, 36,000?
The trend seeming to continue downwards.
Oh my gosh.
So what went wrong? When Epic Games announced Ranked Battle Royale in May of 2023, the Fortnite community was actually incredibly excited.
Yeah, it was really hype.
This guy.
What?
Now, if I...
Oh my gosh, we're gonna have to blur that out.
What do you think the main experience you want in a ranked mode would actually be?
I mean, he has the point. You can just play these clips.
Something like this. You probably would want a skillful and rewarding loot pool, because if you're going to commit 20 to 25 minutes of your life to a match, you'd probably want the deaths to feel not that cheap and unavoidable. I think it's fair to say that you want to die skillfully in a ranked mode. You probably want good match pacing. So if you're 5 minutes into the game and there's only 20 people left, that means that the rest of the match might be pretty slow and boring. To
be fair though, I feel like Ranked and Battle Royale have the same pacing. It's just way too slow all around. But maybe that's just me.
Might be pretty slow and boring. Now, the tournament matches are slow, but there's a large payoff at the end where the end game is really good. And there's a lot of tension because dying means that you're going to lose points. But if you're in a ranked game where you're doing nothing for 15 minutes and then there's no end game, that's not the most exciting match to play. You'd probably also want reasonable matchmaking. I imagine that you'd probably be more willing to commit more time searching for a match if that match is actually going to be a good match. There are often 10 minutes between each game for scrims. I'm sure it's a little boring, but people do it because they know that the scrim match they're going to get into is a high quality game. However, with Ranked Battle Royale, if you wait 10 minutes for a game, you're going to get into a pretty low quality match. So if you're playing against players of a similar skill level, with weapons you like, with well-paced action, then I'm sure you'd be happy to wait a little bit longer for the match. But if the match isn't going to be great quality, I'm sure you'd want matchmaking to be a little bit faster. And finally, you probably want a progression system that actually makes people try. If people care about ranking up and not ranking down, they're much more likely to try harder in the match. And if they're trying harder, the games become higher quality because there's actually a risk of dying. Unfortunately...
Yeah, and I mean, that essentially fixes everything. Just faster pacing, good loot pool, and then the players you're fighting are actually good. It's gonna make it competitive. You're gonna care about your rank. Boom! Everything's fixed, essentially. Also, a big thing about Ranked right now, it doesn't feel nearly as rewarding as Arena did back in the day, especially once you hit Champions League or Unreal. Back in the day, if you hit Champions rank, you could continue going, and I personally went to 150,000 plus arena points in a season, and it was really fun, super competitive, and then you were always hitting like a new record, new ladder, right? It kept it fun. But nowadays, if you hit Unreal, you kind of just stop playing, and then that affects the matchmaking, leads to slow matches, bad players. You get the idea.
Fortnite's ranked mode misses the mark on quite literally all four of these aspects. Using the current Star Wars season as an example, the loot pool for ranked is actually pretty fun to fight with. But the TIE fighters and X-Wings basically just
bro, the TIE fighters are so cooked,
which can be pretty frustrating. You can spend 5 minutes queuing into the game, 5 minutes off spawn, and then die to a vehicle with 1,250 HP. I don't know about you, but I had that happen literally like 20 times during my speedrun that I did recently, especially in solos, bro. It was a terrible gaming experience. And there's a reason that things like these TIE fighters and other vehicles are taken out of actual tournaments. The matchmaking times are usually pretty reasonable if you're in a major region and play duos, but outside of that, the queue times can be extremely long, as it's just really difficult to fill a lobby of 100 people of a similar skill level. This is a much bigger issue in smaller regions where the player bases are just smaller, so finding a game without having to wait 20 minutes can be difficult at any time of the day, and then the game you find isn't exactly going to be a banger. The pacing of these matches would definitely be pretty strange too. Most players land at major POIs or hot drop, meaning if you don't land at one of these spots, you're probably going to have no action in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the game. Then, because there's so much movement with the vehicles, fights become this huge mess with a lot of players third-partying, which can obviously be a little bit frustrating.
And it gets really frustrating,
There's no big payoff in the end game because it doesn't have a lot of moving zones like high-level tournament matches do. But the biggest issue is really just with the ranked and progression system itself. The ranks go from bronze to unreal, and the reward for playing ranks just doesn't really exist.
Bro, this is what I was just saying, man. Resub has such a good competitive opinion. Oh my gosh.
And competitive
I'm
players,
just agreeing with everything right now.
Some cosmetics for every single rank that you go up, which is cool and a great addition that was added relatively recently. However,
they gotta continue that.
Unreal rank or the Emperor rank in this current Star Wars season, there's not really much to play for. And that's specifically because you cannot D-rank out of this rank, which means there's no real incentive to play ranked. The result of this is that every single ranked battle royale game isn't really about winning, it just becomes about hot dropping and fighting. And once you hit this top rank, you're put into a global leaderboard where you now have a number associated with you, which does seem like a cool way to get high-level players to grind this, as they'll try to fight for the #1 rank on the leaderboard. But take a look at the leaderboard. At the time of recording, I was ranked 2061st. So how far away am I from #1? I mean, I can say I'm 2060 places away, but how far is that? None of these things are...
Yeah, dude, that's such a good point. Let's say you're similar to Resub and you're ranked 3000 in Unreal right now. If you wanted to hit #1 Unreal, you have zero clue how many wins you would need, how many kills you would need, what you even need to do, essentially. There's no measurement. Before with Arena, if I had 7,000 Arena points, and if I wanted to be #1 in Arena, I would have to beat the guy who has, let's say, 100,000 Arena points. And with the Arena point system, if you got a win, you know, it was like 250 points. If you survived to top 25, it was 50 points, and you know, every kill was a good amount, but you knew exactly what a kill was and you knew exactly what a win was worth. Nowadays with the rank system, I have no idea, bro. I think I'm like top 800 in Unreal right now or something.
Really in any way clear, I didn't even think about whatsoever by looking at this leaderboard. And that's especially true since there's not really a visible rating or elo system associated with that rank. And even if there was, I still wouldn't know how many elims, what kind of placement I would need to actually progress, or what I would need to do to not go down the rank as well. And even if I wanted to grind it, this leaderboard is not shown in game. It's only on the Epic Games website itself, which means...
Dude, that's true as well, because people aren't going to care for it if they don't even know it exists, you know?
Most people aren't even going to know this exists or even care about it. And the thing is, this uncertainty isn't just a problem. It's unclear exactly what you need to do to rank up in the lower ranks as well. You fight, you try to play placement and win the game, and you can kind of figure this out by looking at the post-game lobby, seeing how many elims and placement you got and the bonuses and all of this kind of stuff, but it's just not clear. What do I need to do to rank up? And what do I need to do to not rank down? But imagine Unreal was just the top 500 players. There was a risk to dropping out of Unreal to the rank down below, and of course, if you want to climb up the leaderboards, you actually had to play it well. Currently, there's also only one rank, just Battle Royale. But if each team mode had its own rank, there would also be a reason to play these other modes, meaning lobbies would actually fill since there are people grinding for the #1 slot that aren't just going to play it in duos or aren't just going to play it in solos.
Let bro cook a little bit here, hold up.
It's honestly just a rather lackluster ranked experience. Ranked Battle Royale is just another playlist where you just go to fight other players, but it's arguably the least enjoyable playlist for this. All of this pushes good players away from Ranked Battle Royale, and where are they going to go? Well, if they want to practice a tournament-style match, they're going to play custom game scrims, and if they're going to practice fighting, they'll probably go into UAFN, or of course, Reload. And the numbers here don't lie. Initially, Ranked was slowly gaining popularity, going from 20% of the population to up to 30%. But then a huge percentage of players stopped being interested in this playlist. This massive dip down to 9.81% was due to the Wrecked season, which was basically the worst competitive season of all time, and I'm not really surprised the player numbers dropped so much. But with the release of Reload Ranked in September of 2024, the percentage of players playing a ranked mode jumped to 36.63%, and it went even higher the month after that. So on average, for those 2 months, 1 out of every 3 players would be playing a ranked playlist at any time.
That's
which is
huge,
kind of crazy,
man. Oh my gosh.
Fortnite is often seen as a very casual game. But this is unsurprising because so many of those problems that Battle Royale has, Reload fixes. Reload's loot pool isn't exactly competitive, as a ton of mythics, exotics, rocket launchers, and shockwaves that break every build, but most of the time the insanely broken items that go into Battle Royale are not in Reload. TIE fighters, X-Wings, and a lot of the annoying overpowered vehicles that competitive players...
I agree with what he's saying, but another thing here, what makes Fortnite fun is also having some stupid weapons. Like when I play Reload and I have a chance of getting a dev chest, and I have 1 in 10,000 chance of getting a full exotic inventory full of OP fun guns, it makes it a lot more exciting, you know? Let's say they had a ranked loot pool where it was just a blue AR and just a purple pump, right? Although it would be fun and it would be significantly more competitive than anything else, it wouldn't be as fun as Reload is currently. So I think having a bunch of different cool weapons and, you know, some weapons that suck and some weapons that are pretty OP, I think overall that's what makes Fortnite more Fortnite-y, right?
Didn't enjoy in the Wrecked season are just not in Reload. And even though some of the stuff in the loot pool is overpowered, dying to it doesn't feel quite as bad. In Battle Royale, this kind of death would be 10 to 15 minutes of your life wasted. But
yeah, the better pacing makes it way better.
30 seconds later, so it kind of dampens the frustration of dying to something that's not that competitive. The respawn mechanic in Reload also naturally fixes the pacing issues that plague ranked Battle Royale. You land at a drop spot, and even if you're uncontested, you can be fighting players within 30 seconds because of the quick looting, the smaller map, the mobility, and then that fighting will continue to basically the end of the game. It's constant action, which for practicing fighting means you're going to get way more fights per hour than if you just played Battle Royale.
Which in turn makes you way better.
Reasonable matches.
Which in turn makes it a better competitive ranked mode. Facts.
Since games only have 40 players instead of the usual 100 that a Battle Royale game has, this means that it's easier to fill a lobby with players close to your rank. And this is especially useful on these smaller regions where filling a ranked Battle Royale match is close to impossible at times. But where ranked Reload fails is the exact same thing that Battle Royale fails at the most, which is actually the progression system.
The progression
sucks. It's the exact same as Battle Royale. So for all of the issues that exist there, they also exist in ranked Reload. So with ranked Battle Royale numbers at all-time lows, is Reload killing the playlist? Well, as I already mentioned, Ranked Battle Royale has a lot of problems already, which over time has pushed people away. However, it's still one of the only ways to practice with the actual competitive weapons, which often aren't in Reload or in UEFN maps, and it's still one of the only ways to practice somewhat realistic in-game fighting with what feels like tournament servers and performance. But
yeah,
the addition of the Reload Ranked playlist has definitely taken numbers away from Battle Royale. Since the release of Ranked, there's been an average of 23.2% of any player playing a Ranked playlist mode at a time. There are obvious ups for new chapters and OG seasons, and downs for Wrecked, but
oh my I wasn't even looking at Wrecked, I was looking at Reload. Oh my gosh! Yo! And people say that Wrecked wasn't that bad of a season. I occasionally see a thread on Twitter where someone's like, actually guys, we need to discuss this. Wrecked wasn't that bad of a season. It was. It was really bad. Although, I will say, I do miss the Gatekeeper shotgun, and that was one of the last seasons we had the Gatekeeper in. But like, those types of guns, the mythics, the medallions, were actually fire. If they just got rid of the cars and the nitro junk, this season would have been great. But yeah, they definitely cooked it.
But this is somewhat consistent. However, when you look at what ranked playlist these players are playing, that's when things shift massively. Since the release of Ranked Reload, there have been only 2 months where there has been less than 60% of the ranked population in Ranked Reload. This means that for out of every 5 players who are queuing into any ranked playlist, 3 of them are queuing into Reload. This playlist may have initially converted some casual players to ranked, which was clear by the large ranked population.
Yeah, I would say a lot of people.
Release. But it would appear that over time, more ranked players are just choosing to play Reload over Battle Royale. This isn't particularly surprising because both offer relatively the similar experience in terms of practice. You're just going to be fighting players, you're not really trying to grind to win the match. But one playlist is just more engaging at this than the other. As much as I love playing Reload, I really hope that Epic Games put a lot of effort into Ranked Battle Royale to make it a playlist that players are actually excited to play.
Bro, fantastic video from Resub there. He made some excellent points and even brought up a bunch of stuff I didn't even think of. And I play the game all day, right? If you guys have any thoughts or opinions on how Fortnite can save ranked and just competitive as a whole, definitely let me know in the comments. Because in my opinion, having a higher ranked player count will equal a way higher competitive player count because more players will care about competitive Fortnite overall. But yeah, that's gonna be for the video today. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to like and subscribe, man. I'll see you guys next time.